Okay, what is up and welcome to Halftone Plus Update 1.2, which has a few new things that I'll quickly run through. For the record, the first new thing that you'll notice is the randomize button. If I were to turn this on for a quick second, if I press randomize, this will basically randomize through our different styles, our different parameters, our different grids, and essentially give you some really cool, dope, and unique patterns that you can either take, save as presets right here, just like so. Presets, just say like, I want, this is called blue stripple, sure, right? Save as a preset, keep rolling if you guys want to. This was pretty cool too, honestly. This is kind of sick. And I tried my best to make sure randomize only gives you things that are actually good. So if you get a bad one, I don't know. I just don't think it's possible. Hopefully it's not possible, right? You also just changed some inverts for the record if you guys want to change some things around, but that is one of the new features, which is randomize. Now, the second new feature that you notice is the quality bar. The quality bar by default on Halftone Plus 1.0 was always 1x, one pass. This will now give you either 2x or 4x or 6x passes. Now, again, these are more or less, I would say, renderers. So for instance, right, this is 2x. You see if I kind of zoom in for a second what the quality looks like here compared to here, it's definitely different. It's definitely quote unquote better per se, but sometimes for me, I found that just 1x just looks aesthetically like more unique and more grunge and more gritty, which I feel like what's the halftone kind of style that I was going for. This is not your traditional halftone. This is definitely more modern approach to halftone, but you see 2x, if I render this out, it'll get some of that more quality different in because it'll essentially render over 2x or 4x passes. So if I do 4x, for instance, you net out with something like this, which again, from 2x to 4x, the difference is probably not as vast and great. So this is more so I would use 4x and 6x if you're using like things like the hatch pattern, for instance, like I'm using right now, or if you're using the style soft, that's where you find more of like a real genuine difference. Especially as well, if you're in like a 300 DPI, like billboard style, creation, that's where I might use a quality pass just to see if you get something a little bit more in tune with what you were thinking and considering. But for most cases, 1x will be the winner and it'll still look great. It'll be great and you don't have to worry about it too much. And you can use 2x, for instance, and you can change some size parameters if your computer can handle it, or if it's a newer like PC or newer like load, it can render really easily in 2x, but 4x and 6x, use those only as renderers, okay? I would not try to move your parameters and like try to work in 6x. Not a good idea, okay? So that is the second new feature. Now, the third new feature, for instance, I'm gonna change this really quickly to classic. I'll use it just like so on square, right? Boom, I'm here now, okay? The third new feature is the link layer feature. This is pretty cool. I'll just quickly make a white background. Then let's just pretend for a second we wanted to use any random shape. Now, I don't have many shapes, but let's just say, yo, you're so infatuated with a sailboat, okay? I'm gonna make a sailboat. Now, this, of course, for instance, can be text. It could be logos. It could be symbols, right? Any other random symbol that I don't have. This will essentially say, if I click on this sailboat, right? I'm gonna get rid of this white background for a second. Click on the sailboat, click link layer. You'll see it appear in the thumbnail just like so. And also, since I already have the Halftone plugin engine on, it also immediately changed it. So you can also see the sailboat here as well. Now, the reason why it's upside down, it doesn't have the rotation here. I'm gonna rotate this back to upright position. Right? And now it ends up just basically rendering the sailboats as the actual halftone shape engine that you want to use. So again, the styles up top are your shape engines. For instance, I do have like diamonds, squares and dots, stars already present in the plugin by default, but you can now use any symbol, any logo, any shape even, and use it as a halftone pattern. Now, for one, does it have to be a specific shape, like a custom shape? No, it can use pixels or a smart object. And for instance, this is where a pass might be good. So if I use 2x pass for a second, the sailboat will render a little more clearly and it looks a little bit better. And for instance, I do have things like grain on. If I turn this off for a second, it won't look as distorted, right? So this is where that comes in. So link layer, super sick. It basically ends up giving you guys plenty of opportunities to use your own custom shapes. And I know that's something people wanted. I did it. It's there, it's present, and it's sick, and it's easy, it's cool, it's good. You can clear it just like so. It'll instantly re-render, and you're on to just moving on with your life, which is super sick. Now that is the third update. The next update, I believe, was halation. Now, halation is exactly what halation is. If I click on it just like so, it'll essentially render like a pass of like illuminance onto your highlights. But for instance, for here, the reason why it looks like this, for instance, if you scroll up for a second, go to your gamma, lower this further down. The gamma is also controlling halation in your parameters, but let's just move this a little bit so I can get a little enough contrast There we go. You can kind of start to see it come together like so, but it will give you some pretty dope looks. Right, well, like the blue here, I'll also try it with a different preset, for instance. We'll use something like pretty crazy like this. I'll add a little halation to this, lower this fall off, lower the threshold, up the intensity just to start. Like for this instance, it looks actually pretty sick. Let's just move this a little bit further down as well. Maybe the lower the radius a tiny bit as well. And at least you change the color to like, let's say like a blue halation, right? Boom. So it's super fire, it's super dope, and of course, depending on your style and your grid type, the way that halation is gonna work. So just keep that in mind when you guys are messing around with some things. As long as you mess around with the parameters, you'll probably find something that you're hoping for. But yeah, here it is on like a different preset, for instance, and yeah, just super sick. You wanna change the color to purple or pink, that's pink. And if you want less intensity, of course, the intensity itself lowers the amount of intensity, not the radius that's away from it. I would change the radius and or the threshold, move this even further up if you want it to be a little more tighter, right? For instance, so this is the fourth feature, and I think the final feature that was changed outside of the UI. Of course, the UI now has a sticky bottom, right? So you can, of course, always change your color. You no longer need to scroll all the way to the bottom to change your color, which was pretty annoying. In my opinion, don't know what I was thinking. But we changed that so you can, of course, change your color at any point. The invert also sticks down here. The original color toggle also sticks down here. And so does the transparency toggle. If you want to make things transparent nice and quickly, you can also do that here, for instance, as well. And I think that is all of the updates. Now, for instance, if you want to change your color for the record from light mode to dark mode, I have it in here. You just click on the logo, click on dark mode, and you can, get your dark mode. I know people were asking me that, but I think outside of that, that was it. The 1.1 update did have this. I did not talk about it just yet, but there is an additional pass. That's what this plus button is here. If I click on this, it'll add another pass, right? You have two active layers now from your tone layer. So it's not gonna take the passes from here. It'll take an original pass from the tone layer and allow you to actually let's just say, for instance, you wanted to add this grills background. You can have another add, you can make a transparency, and you can stack different ones. So here's your transparency one on top of this other active. And for instance, let's say, yo, Sesso, what happens to my layers? As you see, if I click through my active layers, the parameters are changing because they are saved active settings layer. So if I click over here and you're like, yo, I don't want the yellow, actually I want blue or purple, boom, you can do that. Yo, I don't want the red undertone, I want like a purplish blue undertone, you can do that, right? And let's say, yo, I don't want gray anymore, click back on this active layer and say, yo, I want the red, I'll make it red instead. So these settings do save. For instance, if you have this blue bar, a green bar up, the settings will save. Right? If I click on background, the settings will not save because it's not turned on there. If I click on this layer, the settings should not be on. If I click here, it should be on. If I click here, it should be on. And you can see how that works. And for instance, if you ever want to completely reset, that is what your tone layer is. I just simply delete. I'll take the tone layer since it does read the parameter. I'll change the name. You'll see if I click on like layer 1, for instance, it'll turn off. If I click back over here, it'll also turn off and it'll be no longer on. Just click on a layer that you know is definitely not a halftone layer, just to reset the parameter, and you can just reset completely all over again and move on with your life if you wanted to redo the halftone from scratch. So that is all of the 1.2 updates. And for instance, the halftone itself, it just works per usual, right? I'm gonna just really quickly turn that back on, but I haven't changed any of the styles, but not, have your symbol style, you have your square style, your hex style, your line style. Oh, lines actually did get an upgrade, or engrave got an upgrade. Engrave now works as intended. It's pretty much lines on steroids themselves. I put this, let me just kind of mess around with this to get more better contrast, but it just looks a lot better now. Of course I have it on hex as well. I'll put it on here so you can see it looks a lot better. It actually maintains in the engrave the highlights and shadows. Before it did not, and engrave looks pretty sick. So that style did personally get an upgrade, but yeah, you can move around. Soft looks pretty sick. I'm not going to go through all the styles, but of course, if you guys want to, I can link to a video where I believe I did go through a lot of those different things. I want to go through the updates for you guys to understand how to navigate and move around. Don't forget about the community tab, by the way. If you click on this, you can quickly just apply any specific, let's just say like you want to do crash, apply it. You can quickly and easily apply any nice, dope effect to your halftone. Now, for instance, I'm gonna have to lower the size for this one just because my picture's a little bit more different, but there you go. You can make some really cool, use a community tab to get some really cool presets to start loading in your presets so you don't have to worry on only making your own. But that randomized feature, this will be your favorite way to probably make a preset. So yeah, that is Halftone 1.2 update. That is going to be it for me. I'm going to hopefully not make this video too long. That is going to be Sesso HQ out. Now we get to keep smiling, stay positive, and stay freaking productive, guys. Later and much love. Peace, and enjoy Halftone. First link in the description if you haven't gotten it already.